Hello, everyone. It is day 29 of Veda. My dark lipstick and I are back. And I think this is going to be actually my last live video for the Veda challenge just because tomorrow is kind of a busy day. We have a couple things planned, so I'll do a regular video tomorrow for the last day of Veda. But I did want to jump in today and do one last live for the month of April to say hello, see how everyone is doing, and tell just, I guess, a quick story. So, I used to be an elementary school teacher. I went to Longwood University and I graduated with my degree and got my teaching license and actually came back to the county in which I grew up and went to school here as, elementary, middle, high. And I actually got a job in the town that I grew up in and was able to start teaching there and was able to start my career there. I started in first grade and I taught first grade for, I want to say 7 years, maybe 7 years. And then I switched to kindergarten. And in that time, I I bought my first house. I got married. I had Ryder, and we moved. And then I had Addie. And so a lot of things happened in the transition of, being a student to being an adult. I got my master's. I forgot to mention that part. So a lot of things happened from, my first time starting teaching until, I got to the point where I am now. So I had Addie last year. She will be a year old this coming month in May. She'll be 1 year old, and I made a few really big changes in my life. Now, I love teaching. Teaching is something that it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It's really big balance job, I guess I want to say, because I could have literally spent every day from 6 a.m. to 6 or 7 p.m. Doing schoolwork, which would be either in my classroom, planning, grading, coming up with new ideas, making new things, purchasing supplies for the classroom, whatever it was. I could have spent all of my time doing that as a teacher. And so I had to, and I did at the beginning. I feel like every teacher does when they first start teaching. They get in and they're there from like 6 in the morning till 6 at night. They go home, they eat, they sleep, they come back and do it all the next day. But that's because I didn't have anything else going on. I didn't have a dog, I didn't have a boyfriend, didn't have a husband, didn't have any of those things when I had first started. So I had the time to put in when I needed to. And then we got a dog. I met my husband. We started dating. And then we got married, and my priorities changed a little bit. And so I kind of realized, like, wow, I don't have to spend 12 or 13 hours a day in the school building. And mind you, that time is not like you don't get overtime for spending 12 or 13 hours at school. It's just like your flat day rate. Like, that's what you get. It is what it is. And in the county that I worked, they paid very well. But still, a teacher salary is not like an awesome salary. And I mean, I know people know that. And yes, we get the summers off and that kind of thing, but that means like my paid summer was actually like my actual salary broken up so that it fit all 12 months, which is much different than being paid over the summer. Yes, I got a paycheck, but I had already worked for that time earlier in the year. So some people I don't think always understand that. But I got to a point where after I got married, I kind of decided like, wow, I can actually go spend time with my husband. And we can go do other things. I actually took up coaching at one point. I coached a high school lacrosse team, and that was really fun. But again, more time, doing the whole teaching thing. So I began to kind of find out then that I really had to make some choices in how I wanted to use my career. And so I decided to get my master's because that helps with both relicensure and it gives you a bump up in pay. And I really thought that I wanted to dive into something else a little bit more and specialize just a little bit more. So I got my master's in technology. I went to George Mason University and went through their ITS program and met some amazing people, learned about so many tools, and was able to start utilizing them in the classroom. And that's where things kind of started to take a turn because I realized that we were spending so much time with so much technology, but we weren't using it to the best of its ability. Like, I spent, Fridays in a kindergarten classroom. These kids were here for half a day. Like, I had two classes, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And these kids were spending all day Friday, sometimes part of the day on Thursday, on assessments. They were like 5 years old. Some of them were 4. 4 and 5 year old kids spending their day waiting to be called so that I could assess them on their letters and numbers. Where's the teaching in that? I just felt like I was so sad by the end of the day on Friday. Like, not only are you exhausted from the week, but then like you see these kids' faces, and the little kid who's like confused about the letter P and the letter Q, and they just seem so down. And so you're like, no, it's okay, it's great, you're doing a great job, and it's just hard to bring that over and over and over again to a child, knowing that next week they're going to go through the same thing. And yes, we'll work on it during the week, but it doesn't take 1 week to learn something. I mean, it takes a lot of time and practice. And developmentally, some kids aren't ready. So there's so much that's going on in the school system right now that's just hard for kids. I know that we do things to try and assess how teachers are doing, and are they doing their jobs. And I will tell you, some teachers are not doing their jobs, and you know who they are. You've seen them, you've heard about them, they've been in the news. Like, you know who these teachers are. There are teachers at every school who are not doing the best, working up to the best ability that they have. But overall, most of the teachers are doing their absolute best with the time they have, with the resources they're given, and with the constraints that are placed upon them. They are doing their absolute best, and that is what's stressful. Like, being with the kids wasn't stressful. Yeah, it was busy, and sometimes it feels like you're herding cats, but that's not the stressful part. The stressful part is trying to make sure that you have like the documentation, or the correct testing, and that the kids are making enough progress. Like, many teachers find themselves more concerned with numbers than they are, I don't know, with just the overall well-being of a child. And we teach this holistic approach to teaching. You have to provide for their emotional well-being, their physical well-being, their educational, their intellectual well-being. But that gets so lost sometimes with this, like I said, the constraints that are placed on teachers from both their administration and those above their county. And so that's so hard. And so exhaustion, burnout, they're so real in the teaching world. And that was happening to me. I mean, most teachers burn out about years. Most teachers don't make it to 5 years if they're not going to make it. And then after that, your burnout window is about 10 years. When some teachers are just like, I'm done, I'm switching careers, I'm finished. You have people on the other side who are in the business world who are like, dude, I'm done with the business world, I'm going into teaching because I think it's a cakewalk. There's two sides to that story, and it's neither position is a cakewalk. So personally, I had Addie, and I was supposed to go back to work in October. And I had an opportunity to do some social media stuff and kind of start down that path and that journey. And I found out how much I really loved it. Like, just being able to talk to and engage and create content and use that creative side of my person to make new things and to make them for other people that they would enjoy, that they just didn't, to fill a void and a need that business owners had. That was such a cool thing for me, and I didn't even know it was a possibility. So I'm so happy that I had the opportunity to do that and to create what I have created. And so in October, when my maternity leave kind of came to an end, and we had made the decision just a little bit earlier because we had talked about it so much for several reasons, I decided that I was not going to go back to teaching this year. I could take a leave of absence and see how things were going. And much of that reason was because of, it was financial, because though teaching doesn't make a ton of money, the kids still need to go to daycare. And so for the county I live in, and my income and the income of my husband, it was going to be like a second mortgage payment to put the kids in daycare. And they would have been in two awesome like home daycares. I don't even know how much it would have been had we put them in some sort of like campus program, or a big company like a Goddard school or something like that. I have no idea how much the tuition would have been for that. But I know that just monthly putting them in the awesome daycares that we had chosen, because we knew them, that we knew those people who were going to be taking care of the kids, it was going to be another mortgage payment. Like a house mortgage payment, not even like a condo or like rent. I'm talking like a legitimate mortgage payment. I don't know about you, but paying two mortgage payments is, in my mind, insane. So instead, we decided that I would stay home with the kids. Having the opportunity to do that was amazing because I never thought that I would be able to stay home with my own babies. I like to go and, be with everybody else's kids and be able to learn and teach them, but then to come home to my kids, I didn't know how much I was missing. And they, like I said, Ryder was in he had been in two amazing daycares. One for when he was, just a baby until he was a little past one, and the second one until, after he turned two. And both places were phenomenal. So if I had stayed teaching, I would have put them back in those places because they were great places. But it's not the same as them being home with me and just having a chance to be home with me and for me to see them and me to teach them. And that doesn't always happen, and a lot of parents don't get that opportunity, and that's, if they want it, it's sad that they don't get it. It's hard for them because you have to drop your kid off and your kid's small and they don't always know. So we decided that I would stay home, I would pursue social media management, and we would see where things took us. And some interesting things happened. One, I realized that staying home is a heck of a lot harder than I had anticipated in the beginning. Of course, because I hadn't, I stayed home during the summer, but staying home during the summer and not doing anything work-wise where it's just you and one baby is totally different than staying home, doing business, taking care of two kids, and like trying to be a person all at the same time. So I learned that was much harder. I also learned that I really enjoyed it, that as difficult as it was worth it, and that I need to I learned a lot about taking time for me, and I'm still learning about that because I still need to do that. And the last thing I found out was that I didn't have migraines anymore. Like, think about how crazy that is. I used to have at least one or two migraines, like legitimate, like hat on my head, sunglasses on, ice pack somewhere on my body, migraines. And they were debilitating. And like to have a migraine at the end of like a Friday or on a Saturday or after a big event or something while you have family at your house is really hard to deal with. And at one point I was trying to take medication for it, and then, the doctors and I talked about it, and I said, if I can handle it some other way, I'd rather do that. And they said, okay, go back to Excedrin. So like these migraines were insane. And after I had Addie, during pregnancy, I didn't have any migraines or at least not terrible ones. But after I had Addie and I stayed home and like adjusted to being home, and then I kind of realized about a month or two ago that I don't get migraines anymore. I don't get migraines, and interestingly enough, I've talked a little bit before, especially in my blog, that I have a little bit of anxiety as far as things that are outside of my control, which is a different topic for a different day. And so I have a really hard time trying new things because I feel physically sick because I'm just not sure what's going to happen. So I was not doing things. And when you have kids, you don't want to keep them from doing things. So it kind of forces you out of that comfort zone and into like doing new things. And not having the migraines, not being worried about the stresses that come with everyday teaching and that type of lifestyle has really also eased my anxiety. I'm sure you can hear the children as well as they're playing upstairs. Yay, live! But it was able to kind of ease my feelings of anxiety for doing new things. Now, do I still get anxious over certain things? Yes. Am I going to be riding the metro anytime? No. For some reason, I can't ride the metro in DC. I just can't do it. I try. I'm not a huge fan of public transportation, but again, control things. But that level of anxiety that I was feeling is now much less. It's much better. Like, I'm enjoying myself more. I'm feeling better. I'm happier, though I'm busier, and though things fall on me, you would think I'd be a little bit more stressed, but the level of stress and the type of stress is so much different. So those are some of the reasons and some of the things that have happened with me quitting and leaving my teaching job and starting something new, starting a new endeavor. If you've watched the other vlogs, then you'll kind of know, what's going on. If not, I encourage you to watch them. I've talked about Woman of Virtue. I've talked about Mock-Up Media. I've talked about a couple of those different things. So if you want to know more about any of that, let me know. But I can say at this point, so far, leaving teaching has been a good idea for me. And maybe someday, once the kids go back to school and once they're of a school age, you never know if I'll ever get back. I might go back to teaching. I might just miss it and know that it's something that's important to me and something that I was, pretty skilled at, I guess. I mean, I made a lot of great connections and still keep in touch with a lot of the people that, I know through teaching, but I just wonder if I'll go back. I might, but I might also be the next me, Gary Vee. Life is still open. Who knows? There's a possibility to do just about anything. So that's why I left my job. And in lieu of, or instead of starting and going ahead and taking a new opportunity into our hands and giving that a try. And this has been the 29th day in a row that I have posted a video on my channel, which is awesome. And I'm really excited and somewhat proud of myself because I feel like as much as it wasn't hard, it was hard, which I've said before. Just kind of thinking of things that you want to share with the rest of the world, and some of them are personal and some of them aren't so personal. But I encourage you, if you have not already, to go back and watch some of the other vlogs. You'll get to see my kids, you'll get to see my husband, you'll get to see some of the funny things that go on in our life. And if you have been here for a while, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow and past. I will not be doing daily vlogs, but I will still be doing things on YouTube. So I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much for those of you who have already subscribed. If you're new, go ahead and click the subscribe button. I'd love to see you here again. And if you watch this either now live or on the replay, I would love to see that thumbs up so I know that you were here. And let me know, have you made a big career change? Have you left a job or started a new endeavor that was a little bit scary? Let's talk about it. I want to hear about it. So until next time, bye.